Good.
So, what'd you guys do today?
Not much. Just woke up and
Nice.
decided to talk to some judges and get a point of view from them. What about you?
You know, just woke up a little late today. It's running a little late, so just getting started.
Yeah, same. I'm a little late too.
It happens. It happens. Sometimes you gotta catch up on sleep. God damn,
Mr. K.
Abilene.
Yeah, you know it.
Know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I feel safe next to you, Nina.
Yeah.
You know, you can put some more pep in your step, Bailey. It's okay.
I'm sorry. Are you blaming me for being old?
Respect your
bit, yeah.
elders. Come on now. How you doing, Judge?
I'm just fine. How about yourself?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good.
Hey, how many judges did you shoot up today?
No. I'm just waking up actually.
Oh yeah. Lying isn't your strong suit.
And if I
Mr.
did,
K.
obviously not too many, right? I think we got the remaining judges here.
Oh,
This
hey,
is
well,
pretty
there's
much
not too many of us left, to be honest.
Yeah, this is actually almost every remaining judge. I think we're missing like 2.
Just Gatsby, right?
She was awake earlier,
Gatsby's-
and then she went back into her apartment to go watch daytime soaps or whatever.
Yeah.
Norman,
There's a couple probationary
how are you,
judges.
Norman?
Okay, I'm doing well.
Last time I saw you, you were slanging and banging in the courthouse.
Yeah, last time I saw you, you were doing the same.
Oh, that's neither here nor there. I mean, this is about the future, right?
It is.
Well, who knows
Yes,
what
it
it's
is.
about, honestly. I do have some questions if we want to start kicking off things. I'd be curious,
Okay.
specifically for the judges, and I mean, I guess the lawyers. Is the only law we have the Constitution and the legislation and the Penal Code?
That's basically everything. Yeah. If it's not legislation, penal code, or yeah, if it's not in those areas, it's not really law. So.
Okay. And
Correct.
out of curiosity, the case that was thrown out today, what do you think the reason for that would have been? If you could, say, if you're allowed to, that is. I don't know if that's crossing the line, but maybe we could hypothetical it if we really had to
Well,
look at it that way.
I should point out that he's the only one who can speak on his reasoning, and considering he resigned, the only way we can really glean from his reasoning is what he posted on the docket.
We don't want to be putting words into his mouth at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Basically
just,
said there was
Right,
not enough
right.
evidence.
I know what was said, and that's
I
what I'm
can't
saying.
speak
It's
for
just
him.
my worry is, and it's even to do with my prosecution, is if we're to throw something out or even prosecute somebody and there's not the written specifics of the legislation or the law that was broken in the sentencing on the docket or whatever, how is it possible anybody would trust what is said in something like that?
What do you mean? Like, how could they have trust in the institution itself?
Right. So consider mine. Obviously, I was screaming while I was getting my sentencing. But if there is no fundamental argument to why there is, jurisdiction for the police officers up there, written at the end of the court proceedings, how is anybody to, trust or respect the outcome of that, or understand what the law was that was broken?
well, there's,
So I can speak to that.
Alright.
As you just acknowledged, a lot of the at the end there was 5 minutes of you and I yelling back and forth with each other, where I was attempting to establish that verdict, read it out clearly so that you could understand, and obviously you were in disagreement at the time. Could it have been published? Yes. Do I still have it? Yes, and I can do so. It's not an issue.
Well, it's not so much only that. I mean, yes, that would help, but at the same time, if you were to post something on the docket, are we able to then use that as a reference, or like what sort of law would that even be deemed as? You know,
Ab-
is it? It's not precedent,
Absolutely.
obviously, but
Susan, could you speak up by chance?
oh my bad.
It'd be precedent. I can give you an example. Like for Mr. Ferrara here, he had a court case just this afternoon. He appealed the matter for trace smoke, where the police arrested him and charged him with felony obstruction of justice because he refused to track his motorcycle that was stolen. Because they thought it was going to lead to the to the apprehension of someone who had assaulted a police officer. I ruled that was wrong. I ruled that the individuals still had their Miranda rights, regardless of whether they were a victim or a suspect or anything otherwise. And I articulated as such on the docket, right? That's all spelled out there. It's all spelled out in plain text. And now, if Mr. Ferrara or any of the attorneys here have a case like that going forward, something where something similar is charged, they can cite that filing and they can introduce it as evidence.
Right. My question would be though is if our constitution and
Let them get
legislation
their
is
get
the
their
law,
stuff out there, chat.
and the only law that we impose, is your opinion of how the law should be enough to justify
time to
something
talk will come.
changing like that? For instance, if you believe something of guilt has to be over a certain level, why is this not a part of our due process? Why do we not understand what our guilt requirements is? If it isn't law, then how do we enforce or enact something like that?
Because at some point the legislative branch or the judicial branch is left to interpret the laws that have been established, right?
Right.
There's a certain matter of interpretation that's required. If I were to look at that as plainly using the same example of, oh, he didn't give information to the police and the police weren't able to get the the arrest on this guy. Did he obfuscate information? Technically, on a literal sense, yes. But you have to take that part and parcel with the recognized common law through Miranda v. Arizona and make that interpretation that even though he could have done something, we have laws on the books that say that he was not required to. There has to be some level and amount of interpretation that goes into that.
Okay. So if I was to ask you based
translation
on
lawyers in chat? You
obviously,
guys are lawyers, right?
I'm
Can I
going
get
to
a
be very
translation?
biased in my opinion. Where in legislation would you say that there is jurisdiction for any LEO in Blaine County?
So the thing that we drew on, in making that verdict
I'm a roofer,
specifically
sorry.
was the PCP 2.0, which had
Right,
empowered the powers that were sitting at the time.
Just before you go further, can you just read the first line of the PCP 2.0?
Here we go.
Sure. Grab my tablet here. In an effort to bring the various law enforcement departments acting within the boundaries of Los Santos into the blanket of checks and balances that every integral branch of government presently enjoys.
That's what are the boundaries of Los Santos?
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that because that's what I was going through when I made the verdict, right? Go to the third bullet point under examples of powers that the mayor's office reserves, where it reads, quote, the formation of other law enforcement departments as the need arises in other regions of Los Santos beyond the city. Coverage is important.
Right, but you see it says an example of power that they reserve, which means for them to apply the power, it has to be done through legislation. It isn't just created because they have the power to do it. So, for instance, if you in your constitution, it says you have the authority to create legislation, that doesn't mean the legislation is created until it's created. So why exactly would an example of power be equal to the power when the first sentence exactly says that Los Santos and its boundaries is the current law enforcement area?
Because again, it requires some amount of interpretation rather than it is anything spelled out clearly, sir. That is my opinion, and I'll stick to it.
Right.
And I believe that we're going to fundamentally disagree there.
Well, here's
Right, so
right. So
just-
hold on. Because of that, right? And this is a foul of. I'm sorry. Do you need to be dramatic over there, Murphy?
Oh no, I was just trying to get comfortable.
Oh, all right. Well, and I think you understand at this point, and I've had multiple conversations with yourself and other individuals that it is, once again, open to interpretation. Would be someone else that does it differently. He does it differently than I would as well. But with that being said, the fact that it was argued does beget an actual conversation as to, well, if it's not clear and if we are disagreeing, then there needs to be a commonality that we can agree upon, which is something that we have been diligently working on. And I mean, I don't think it's quite ready to share, but I can give you some of that information if, as a result of a fair amount of this.
I think it's the issue that arises. I understand the interpretation of the law, but what law are you interpreting? Are you interpreting this man over here, you said it's his interpretation of the law. Are you interpreting the example of powers as the law?
Well, the empowerment was to create that department. Then the commissioner went about through that role and created that department being
Right.
the BCSO. That would be an execution of the powers outlined within that legislation.
Interpolating?
Right. So why would somebody, if they had the power to do that, need to write it when it's DOC? Why was that legislation created to empower them and have that jurisdiction?
The DOC legislation came prior to the... I can't speak for the decisions of the council. Maybe Mr. Walker there could...
Right, but you're missing the point. Why do they have to define jurisdiction in legislation for it to be legitimate, but this man doesn't, if it's the same authority? You understand the point? So it's not that your interpretation of the law is wrong. You're interpreting a law that doesn't exist yet. That's the problem. If you were to say to somebody, and this is why the people are fucking insanely furious with things like this, if you can't justifiably point out the legislation or law that you're referring to that's written, then it isn't law. How do you have jurisdiction? So think about the precedent you set here. If something says you have the power to do something, that means that you are currently within that power. So if I have the power to become the president, why am I not the president right now, sir?
Because the process would need to be detailed for that in order to occur. The process was detailed for the creation of the department within the same legislation that I'm referring.
As an example, yes.
It's all encompassing throughout the entirety.
Well, if I have the power to become the president, there's an example in which I could do it.
What he's saying is, when there is no law for this situation, I'm free to decide whatever I want.
How you can argue that?
See, because you're speaking in hypotheticals now, and I don't know that that's particularly constructive.
Well, it isn't a hypothetical, because I could become the president of the United States of America, right? It's within my rights to be able to do that. Why would I not be able to do that?
I mean, I would ask you to point to me where we have that legislated, though.
Well, we're talking about America, the country, not our law. If I went over to New
They're
York
writing new
and I
laws
was living there and I had the rights, like everybody else, to become president, I'm not the president until I have enacted that and it is written. The law, legislation, right? So if I have the power to create a police department and I don't write it down in legislation, then why would it exist yet? I don't understand how you argue this.
Again, it's a matter of interpretation at some point. Okay. We can go in circles around. We can go in circles on this.
Well, this is the problem.
I think it's an important point.
It's a very important point. So, so an example of power to you means that is created already. That's what you're saying, right? In your interpretation, an example of power means it is created.
How long till people start?
It doesn't necessarily mean that it's already been created. How long till Cole starts calling people idiots? There was some time that lapsed between the PCP passing and the creation of the department itself. Now, again, I can't speak to the specifics of how that happened. Again, maybe Mr. Walker over there might be able to refer you to, as he's sitting on the council. He would be aware as being part of the mayor's office. Maybe he could inform.
If a law isn't written, does it exist?
Does there need to be a law to establish a police department?
A jurisdiction, yes. There does, actually.
Like, why? What?
That's why it's written there.
So I'm okay. So can I ask like a clarifying question? Because why do you believe? Because it seems you're suggesting that not all law needs to be written, and that some laws are just inferred out of thin air. That's what I'm kind of
Well, no, there's
getting.
no inference. I'm pointing specifically
So
to
why-
a piece of legislation that was published.
Right, but are you disagreeing that law would need to underline the requirement for like a police department, jurisdictions, etc.?
No, I'm simply stating that the power was outlined to the legislation that was in question.
So where does it say
Well,
they
I
have
guess the
jurisdiction
question.
in
I guess
Blank
the question I'm asking. Is in the creation of that department. Suppose the commissioner exercises that power. Is that required to be through legislation, or can they just do that with powers instilled by that legislation that already exists?
Well, it says you can create the department, but that isn't creating the jurisdiction and legislation. A department is a completely different authority to the jurisdiction that it's bound to.
Sure.
It's just
so again,
a separate,
it goes back
separate
to
type of authority.
either way. What we've been working on in the days since, and John was starting to mention, are some overworks and overhauls to kind of patch up some of these matters that are being brought forward. John, you're going to be most familiar if you want to step into the conversation.
Yes. Give me a sec. There's quite a lot that has been transpiring over the last few days. I understand that there has been some unrest, actually a lot of unrest between individuals within this city, as market individuals, okay, right here, others, they have taken actions upon their themselves to prove their points. And as I've said on Twitter, verbally over there, your points have been heard. But believe me, I understand. And we understand where you are coming from with a lot of these. And with Soze's as well. What I don't want to have are these circular conversations where we keep going around the same thing. I'd like to move forward. And in a way so that is using the words that we have, not weapons. So first off, one thing that we have, and it's not 100% finalized, we're getting there, is revised constitution here. Where everything and anything that we create has to be referenced back to some sort of what we have within the Constitution. Whether that be the basic human rights and freedoms, as well as, for example, right to healthcare, right to privacy, right to dignity, etc. Basically, any laws or legislation would then be returned to our basic human rights. Those can then be argued in court, through jurisprudence, through proceedings. Those can be set as precedent as well. All these things will enable us and everybody to start shaping how we operate here. And you're talking about jurisdiction as well. We all have, as a collective on top of it, sat down and worked out a proposal for those jurisdictions. And we'll recognize multiple legislative authorities inside of the state. Now, this is not, we are not the state with it. These are individualities that the state recognizes as authorities. As such, it'll be four tentatively. These are still subject to change. These are not completely finalized. One being the Department of Justice. Where we exist to enact and enforce. Second will be Blaine County. That would then separate Blaine County into actually having their own mayorship, as well as Los Santos. Two separate at that point. Now, should they agree in the two mayors of the two separate counties, or governances at this point, actually coincide together and come together to complete some sort of law
That could be a
legislation
good
that
idea.
becomes known as statewide. And a state law is statewide. I think we also will
They would
have
create a lot of RP.
the medical association as well. We call it the medical board. All these will be legislative authorities where, ideally, we have the ability to reference back to the Constitution and things that we are going to do, y'all have the ability at some point as well, after all these things are implemented, to challenge these authorities. These are all things that are being worked on as we speak. But I can't work on these if you keep damn shooting us up every damn time that we walk into a courtroom. You understand what I'm saying?
We do.
Yes, Your Honor.
The reality, I think, for majority of the people and issue we have, it's not so much interpretations of the law, it's the reality in which we seem, well, not so much with you guys, but a lot of the judges, if you talk to them, it would be backhanded conversations and, you know, no sort of structure or understanding or wanting to understand. Yeah.
Let's also announce this. Since the last week, individuals that have left, not that I need to publicize this by any means, but I'm going to do it for the purpose of letting you know who actually exists right now. In the last week, we have had Cross step down. Rain has obviously resigned. Wielding Glory has also resigned. There has also been the removal of Habibi, who has not been around, and one other on top of it. There's at least 5 or 6 that have either been removed or stepped down to the point where you're looking kind of at a bare bones skeleton of the people that can actually do it at this point.
Well, if I may say, I think this is the right people to do it. I think the bad eggs have left the barn.
Sure. Can I say this? I think that this should recontextualize everything that we're discussing here. I don't think it's fair to sit here and harp upon the failings of the documentation of our past, and instead we should look to make things correct and move forward, so we don't need to worry about those inconsistencies and those incorrect documents that were holding us back in the past. You know, those things that didn't exist.
And if
yes, go ahead.
Sorry, if I may say, you know, as a civilian, criminal, whatever you want to call me, looking in, I think a lot of the issues came from the fact that there was a lot of holes in the legal system. And I think throughout the past few months here, there hasn't been many precedents set. And that left things a lot wide open for, you know, a case by case or letter of the law, whatever you guys want to call it, which led to a lot of inconsistencies. And then down the line, here we are. There's corruption, there's chaos, and you just never know what you're going to get.
Well, I could speak on that for a little bit. A lot of judges were not even aware that we were supposed to be essentially the second half of the legislative authority via our use of common laws and precedents being set. And that was a relatively new realization for pretty much all of us a few weeks ago. You know, for the most part, we kind of left all of the legislation and that stuff up to the council. And with the council being
dropped
so
the ball
hamstrung in its ability to operate the last 2 months, it's left those holes that you mentioned. And
Angel, I'd like to add something that I happen to know is that also, you know, the administration was very willfully trying to keep the judges from having any kind of checks and balance.
Well, I agree. I actually saw a formatted a constitutional amendment from Siobhan, which essentially wrote us out of it. So I'm aware of that.
They wanted you not to have authority?
They were attempting to usurp power through the pardon legislation, which did pass, giving the legislative branch full and final say over anybody who received a pardon. Mr. K, you'd be familiar.
It was actually more than that. They essentially were going to hold the Department of Justice as a proxy legislative authority of the council that answered to them. So
crazy, man.
So that's obviously not acceptable. And
did you guys have the jurisdiction to put them in jail for treason or what?
I do, probably. I mean, I could prosecute people.
You should.
I actually never really thought about it. I guess I could.
Well, I mean, at this point, what you're saying, Bailey? What are you implying with what's happening or what you're trying to do here? Like, what's the fundamental thing that's happening? What's the TLDR for everybody that is, you know, not us, the not so intelligent masses.
Yeah, don't trick yourself there, Sozea. You've argued things quite well. So, TLDR.
There you go. This is for you guys.
We have an upcoming mayor election.
I understood
There'll
everything.
be 2 mayors. We're going to have basic municipalities underneath those recognized areas. You're going to have Blaine County, you're going to have Los Santos. Each will have their own mayor. We have lawyers here. They have the ability at this point, and we will be publishing guidance at some, hopefully soon, of how we can argue, interpret, or petition basically for laws to be enacted. Whether that be changed, whether those times be changed. At the same time, individuals that are elected, should they abuse the power that they are given, including myself and others, do have the power to undergo what is an authority review. No longer are individuals untouchable. They can be. So what we have is petitions that can be signed.
Including us, my dear.
Correct. We are not untouchable. I've been here for a long time. Please don't touch me. I like where I'm at. Just please don't kill me. Anyway, but we don't want unchecked power, and if something does get out of hand, there needs to be the balance around it. And if that balance doesn't exist, well, then we have democracy doesn't exist at that point.
Can I ask a question about the whole mayor situation? So there would be a mayor of essentially the city, and then a mayor of the north part, correct?
Blaine County.
Yep.
And would that would the laws be slightly different in each area, or is it all going to be the same
Yes.
set of laws?
Each municipality will be able to set its own laws. They cannot supersede state law, but they can set their own individual laws for their jurisdiction. Yes.
So, for example, if you shoot someone up there in Sandy Shores versus if you shoot someone in the city, you might get a different sentencing.
Something akin to attempted murder, I think we'd keep safe, right?
Okay, just like the small stuff.
I think it really depends on a lot. Yeah.
I guess it will depend on what's passed. How's the so when you say they're authorities, what's the level of authority they have in terms of so right now the mayor has the council to pass authority. Is it the same level that would be for each mayor?
For the respective municipality.
Correct.
Would be.
But if they actually agree upon it and they come to agreements, it'll be recognized statewide.
Okay. So what if it was legislation just for is it only criminal based, or can they do I don't know, say rights based stuff where it's changing how searches work or whatever? Can they push something to be statewide?
If they're in agreement, yeah.
Sure, in agreement. But essentially, we still have the base constitution, which will have individual rights that are outlined and declared. And if a municipality were to bring about laws that could question the unquestionable rights of a citizen, obviously it could be reviewed and challenged and struck down based on that measure.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, the fact that anybody can have a review put in is probably what the people needed all along.
So what's happening with the council?
I mean,
if there's
it's
two
funny
mayors?
that certain people are leaving before this comes in, but now when we see a dumb decision or something that's stupid, we have a way to, I guess, speak or have the people speak for us. So that's at least how I felt stuck in a hole for the last 3 weeks. Not being able to do anything because the power structures in a way where only we are accountable for the law, and police aren't prosecuted, judges aren't necessarily prosecuted. Everybody has a different level, and obviously being an officer before this, I understand. I'm not trying to detain police officers because there's a bit more to it than that, but not everybody has the same morals. But I mean, if we got a path out, then I guess that's what the people wanted. The laws become.
So you bring up a good point there, and I guess I failed to mention there. If you're not following what he's understanding, is this doesn't just apply to us, right? It is officers. Say, I'm just going to use, I don't know, Riker. It just came in my mind real quick. Say he does something that, or enacts something, whatever the hell it is, and you all have evidence with it, you can initiate that review on him as well. Everybody. I mean, everybody. would be subject to it, not just
So-
us.
If a police officer, EMS, anybody did something somewhat questionable that we couldn't,
I can speak to that. So I have actually been appointed before he resigned as the overseer for the police, which is not what it sounds like. It's actually an acronym. Essentially, a prosecutorial authority that oversees government employees like the police and EMS and whatnot. So, say for example, Den Shiesty were to go out there and try to commit some crimes on someone or steal things from them or attempt to murder someone, our body would be responsible for pushing charges against them and making sure that they're held accountable to the same letter of the law that everyone else in the city is held accountable to.
That right there is amazing to hear.
Can that start
Yeah.
now? Because there's a lawsuit that I'm going to put up for Den Shiesty, actually, for doing that exact thing.
Yes, I'm actually just been working on this oversight constitutional stuff with the rest of the justices. I haven't had much time to put thought into how this will be fleshed out, but it will be more than just me. It will be a department.
So, with there being 2 mayors and 2 counties, how would the whole council system work? 2 different
It's not gonna
councils?
be
Great
Well,
question.
No council?
so, well, the way you said it, right? The authorities can create a council, right?
Correct.
They still have the powers to do whatever they want. So, I assume if someone was to become mayor, they could say in their speech or whatever the fuck they're trying to sway what they're going to pass in legislation when they become mayor, and then it happens. So the council would be there, everything would be there if they wanted it there.
That's
So
basically correct, yes.
So if Nino
I guess
gets
the good thing
elected
with
the
it
mayor
is-
of the city, he could say, well, there is no council, essentially.
You can, but you then run the risk of everything falling back on
Yeah.
your head,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Exactly.
So
So,
it
he has to
becomes,
pass that legislation, and it would be seen. Correct.
Correct. So, if you give or separate the power, the authority, the individuals, I mean, it's almost like as a collective, you are one, but in regards to how people operate, if you consolidate it into one, the authority or the review that may happen will happen to you. But if you, as an individual, want to take that risk on, that is up to yourself. If you decide that you want to abuse that, then you are subject to be removed, most likely.
Is the
To
Constitution
understand, sorry,
Yeah,
just
go,
real
sorry.
quick. Am I, and this may not be exactly what you're asking, Kay. I think it's, maybe the question's more aligned with previously the cabinet was sort of like state level mandated division of voting power. With this new system, it sounds like the mayor, the cabinet is going away, and the mayor has a choice for a cabinet, but ultimately it does come down to a singular vote.
Well, he can
For
create
his
those
authority,
additional
yeah.
powers if he wants. I mean, he could create legislation creating these new positions.
So
I think what they're saying is that the judges become the body that pushes back against something that's unconstitutional or illegal, as
Yeah,
opposed to the
yeah,
council
yes.
having dissent.
Not the
Well,
only body, mind you.
anybody
We'll be one
can.
of them. Yes.
Not the
by
only
the
route.
sound of it, so
We will just be one of them. That's our main purpose. But yes, anyone could oppose this stuff.
So further, it would incentivize you, Nino, to as you seek your political aspirations here, to flesh out
So how
what
do
you
we
believe a
keep the
cabinet or a
DOJ in
staff
check?
should be, so that if something were to come up after you're potentially elected, say there's an issue with,
I know, I'm gonna
with
ask,
the
I'm just
hospital, you have
making
a
sure I wasn't already
a
answered and
medical
I'm not
advisor that can
wasting
maybe
time.
fall on instead of just yourself, right?
Yeah,
That's gonna be on you to
absolutely.
flesh out.
I think so. If I'm understanding this correctly, there is no council anymore. You have the choice for a cabinet.
There is no state mandate.
Okay.
Yes.
There's nothing to
Um,
say that you can't create your own. There's no longer a council of 8 that is everybody.
The
So-
second question I got is, what is the state level voting structure? How do you prevent the deadlock?
What do you mean? In terms of like creating laws between municipalities or
Yeah, exactly. So, for example, there's going to be certain areas of the law that affect the island itself, right? So previously you had the council. Now, from my understanding, there's going to be 2 mayors. That's one vote each. They got to agree for a change of higher levels of legislation. How do you prevent a deadlock when it's a 1-to-1 vote?
The legislation that you'd be seeking to propose would be enforced on a local level, and it would be adapted. It would be adopted as state level, should both sides agree. It's not saying that you can't create legislation and enforce it in Los Santos if you're the mayor of Los Santos, right?
Let
It's
me
just
give you.
that wouldn't necessarily apply to the county.
I'll give a more practical example, right? Gun legislation, right? One county says non-felons should be afforded the right to a weapon. The other county says it doesn't. Is it deadlocked now for 3 months?
Well, depends on the county, right? You can change it for your local county if you're the mayor. Because you're the authority there. Or is it not how it works?
Something to consider is that, these differences between the counties would be what makes them so unique. Not everywhere is supposed to be the same. And so while you might define as deadlock, I would envision it as a different culture and a different community you're seeking to cultivate.
See, I was under the impression that the existing legislation would inherently be state level. But it sounds like all of these things.
Some will. I mean, we still have to go through and revise some things, but
so is the Constitution? Is this the stuff you're talking about? Is that a new Constitution, or is it what is this all based off exactly? The authorities and whatnot. Is it just changing our Constitution, or what's the? How's that work?
So there is a modifications to the current existing Constitution, but the main thing is essentially re-amending and adding a bunch of new articles to it and removing ones that are superfluous or don't really belong in a constitution, to essentially add in and enshrine people's rights that they inherently have. So that
there should be an island-wide constitution,
right?
Changed
at will. These are immutable rights that people have, and they always will have.
So would we consider the Constitution the law above legislation? So that's always
yes.
That's what everything should be referred to.
So legislation can't go against the Constitution, like
That's
it is
correct.
currently, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Well, with the appeal thing, is that so? Can you only appeal to review or whatever you said it was?
I don't know why it was allowed to
or can you also do it on a piece of
right?
legislation? Like, can we group signatures or something and force a vote or something to change legislation that we don't agree with?
Yes,
as a
may.
people.
There's an avenue for constitutional law review. Maybe not necessarily outside of the confines of a traditional trial. The constitutionality of a law can be challenged itself.
If you want to assemble people,
be...
which is your right to assemble, and for example, to petition 2 or 4 things to be changed, there is a discussion as to how many those are right now. But those will be heard. Now, is there too many, too little? What is that threshold? That's up in the air. But yes, if people do assemble with something that's common that they would like to change, they have the power to contest that.
Okay.
I have a
sounds like a democracy.
Something like that.
I have a
Fundamentally
question.
speaking,
How did how was there legislation passed that went against the Constitution to begin with? And also, we're talking about all these checks and balances. How is the DOJ going to be kept in check this time around?
Once again, you all have the ability to review our authority as well. If you find that we do something that is unbecoming of our position, that you say, Mr. K says that Judge Bailey here has been writing some very harming or inducing harm to the actual governments or structure that we have. And you can cite those and provide the evidence of what things have happened. You can initiate a review on my own big.
But who reviews
it? Basically, anybody can be impeached or, I guess, punished. Is the idea?
When you ask who reviews it, from my understanding, for judges specifically, I believe it would go to a independent third-party review that is not of the state.
Okay. And what was the issue of how, my question is, how was it even possible that legislation that went against the Constitution was being passed? Was that because of Crane or other laws that are in place?
Can you specifically refer to what legislation that would be?
Well, Soze
'Cause I'm
has
not sure.
a bunch of them, but the one I can remember off my head is the, for example, the business law. In the Constitution, it says states you need to have a warrant presented to you to have any type of raid done,
Lawful
yada yada
search.
yada. And then on the business law, it states they can raid your property anytime they want.
Sure. So I guess the only thing I could really say into that is in the past there wasn't an enforcement mechanism for us to necessarily challenge that. However, I can imagine that, let's say for example you had a business and the police searched it and you wanted to sue for the constitutionality of it. I imagine you probably could have, and I would have been willing to entertain it. I don't know how it would have been entertained, but I think that it's possible the DOJ could have struck it down as unconstitutional.
Isn't that essentially what your whole
So-
case was
We've
about,
got a-
Soze?
Well, sure. There's a lot of things with inconsistencies on, I wasn't sure if the Constitution was considered the same level, what it was, and honestly, I don't think it really matters at this point. The reality of it is,
Yeah,
for
I
me,
agree.
if we can push forward and actually see everything that's changing and vote to remove it or revote to remove somebody if they abuse power, we're resolving all the issues we had that we feel, well, I feel created this situation. We've got listen, I don't want to necessarily make you guys panic or anything, but I am not confident that everybody who voted on council legislation actually read the oath, which is a requirement for them to be able to join the council. So if that's the case, I'm not sure any legislation would even be legal if that was to, go over. Maybe Murphy could tell us there. Does everybody say the oath that joins the council? Every single person?
Like
Nope.
say it out loud on like a book or something. like that?
Crane, the mayor, everybody.
I was never
Anybody
sworn
that's in
in.
the council.
I can say that right now. I was never sworn
No.
in. I should have been.
No.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
So people voted on legislation that weren't a part of the council, sat in on meetings that weren't a part of the council, and well, every piece of legislation is I guess not done how it was intended.
Jesus.
I mean, I wouldn't say every piece, but if that is indeed true, I would say that there's essentially some very serious foundational questions about a lot of them, yes.
Did Crane ever say the oath to join the council?
I don't think any of us were actually available to see that unless it was
Council was
publicly
created
done.
before I was even hired as a judge, so I couldn't.
Yeah, I don't
he
know
was
if
like
Murphy
the
or someone
interim
was
there.
city
Same.
manager prior to the formation, so he was like grandfathered in. I don't know. I don't think
So there
anybody was
are
there
no
at that
laws.
I don't want to
right now.
speak. I don't
That's
want
not
to speak
true.
on his behalf. He
Well,
may
the
have, or
Constitution's
may
there.
not have.
It's authority, no matter what. So I'm just like I'd have to question it. I mean, listen, if
That's fair.
if the council legislation does say that the council needs to vote on something for it to be, law, then maybe there is a very questionable thing due to their whatever the fuck oath that they meant to say to even join the council. I believe it's the second council post says they all need to say the oath to be recognized as a council member or some bullshit.
I mean, that might be a good argument for us to review and go through these legislation pieces again.
Well, like I said, I'm not saying this because I want to go sue people. I'm saying this so you guys can understand that there might be bigger things you need to worry about if some of that legislation is iffy. That's all.
I appreciate that. I mean, we were very likely going to do an internal legislative review.
Yeah, so am I
and
not a terrorist
probably
now?
remove stuff that didn't fit anymore. So
I mean,
Wait, so who's gonna-
I was gonna say at the end of the day, if the legislation makes sense, there ain't no point removing it anyway. If it's gonna tie into whatever you guys are doing, so.
Well, there may be parts of it that are
No,
no
I'm not
longer
gonna ask that. I'm
accurate.
just joking, Chet.
For example, like the business one that you cited, Mr. K, was the mayor signing off with it and Chief Justice. That obviously would have to be altered.
Okay, so that shouldn't have happened, is what you're saying.
Well,
Well,
no,
the
I'm
Chief
saying those things
Justice
still have
would
to
have
be
done it.
reviewed there.
Right, right, but there was authority to do it if the Chief Justice signed it, so he technically had the powers either way.
Right. I'm
But
just pointing
whether or
out
not it's
that
legal.
if it changes at this point, the structure that we have, that also needs to be adapted to the structure to be fitting
Right.
towards the situation we're in.
There's still a lot of paperwork to be done, basically.
Yeah, sounds like it.
With
Well,
that being said, stop shooting us up. Thank you.
Well,
Yeah, it's hard to do
I
paperwork.
I got two questions. One is, with the new constitution, has there been any thought about
I haven't been shooting judges,
wiping
to be
everyone's
fair.
records?
I don't really see why that would be necessary. The penal code's not really changing.
New constitution infers new state.
I have.
well, it's
The
amended.
state's
But
It's
as of
not a
recent-
new constitution. so
Amended. Okay.
It's
Yeah,
really
yeah,
just
they said
been
they
like
were
the
amending
Siobhan
it.
circle.
Yeah,
That's why I asked as well.
the state authority is not changing. It's still the state that incarcerated people in the past.
Look,
the
I'm a
same
lawyer. You know, I got to
authority.
try. If I could wipe everyone, that'd
I
be the biggest
understand.
lawyer W ever.
I completely understand, but we already have processes in place for expungements, and I believe pretty much anyone here could qualify for it if they really wanted it. So
The second question I got is, I want to go back to the like the example about the weapon license, right? It's not very. I'm only using that as an example. Now, I can understand the issuance of them being local, but given that there's county lines, is the inference there that the police department would effectively need to see whether any crime that is transpiring remains in the confines of a of like LSP Los Santos or Blaine County, and does not cross county lines during said incident? You get what I'm
So-
saying?
yeah, I understand. So essentially, the way that the jurisdictional authority is written is that each enforcement agency has jurisdiction, quote unquote, over their respective county. If I were to, for example, shoot Bailey in the head and then flee to the city, and police officer, or the sheriff's department was chasing me the whole way, and then they arrested me when I got to, the city, they
That
could
wasn't
still
me.
arrest me. They still have authority to enforce the laws.
Mhm.
But when they're within the jurisdiction of the Los Angeles Police Department's jurisdiction, the LSPD essentially take a priority, and they have a say over the conduct of the officers while they are there. So, say for example, the LSPD have internal policies that restrict pitting over 40 miles an hour, and a BCSO deputy were to come in and do that, and they had different policies, and they pit someone for that respective speed, they would be then held liable to those new standards. Essentially, agencies need to comply with each other in the way that they enforce their own agencies and their policies, or else they could be found liable and potentially sued for that.
Absolutely, but I guess
And
the question
punished
is,
internally as well.
would the charging of said individual, would it be based on where the crime originally occurred, or does it include where it crosses?
It would be where it originates from. So the BCSO would charge me for the shooting here, not for whatever LSPD has in there. Say they had different laws in place for it.
I
So-
gotcha.
So it will be important for the police to dictate and understand where crimes were committed, and back that up with evidence as well.
Does that include if the crime continues into another county? By the way, I'm not trying to be pedantic
No,
here.
I
I'm trying
understand
to
completely.
best understand like where the line is between. I know obviously Constitution's going to remain state level, and there's going to be some things that are going to remain state. I'm trying to
So-
visualize where that line sort of ends.
Yeah, it's not either or. Okay, so let's say that there's state laws that says it's illegal to shoot people, and the BCSO and the Los Angeles County and Blaine County don't have any specific laws about that. Just because the shooting people occurred in Blaine County and then shooting occurred in Los Angeles County, doesn't mean that the actual punishment would change. Now, say for example, you committed criminal offenses in one county that had differing penalties. You very likely would just be subject to whatever is higher and not both. So, say for example, I can't think of a crime off the top of my head or an example, but let's say that there was a crime in Blaine County that had like a 20-month and $2,000 fine attached to it, and the same crime in LS County was 25 months and $3,000. And that crime occurred in both places. You would probably just be subject to the one count of it in Los Santos County and not both. So you wouldn't be charged twice for the same thing. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So
But, a lot of this has not been fully fleshed out and written in yet. This is just my understanding of what we discussed.
Were you gonna say something else, Nino?
I was gonna
What is-
say, I feel like we're
go.
being a bit optimistic about officers then learning two SOPs when they can hardly understand their own.
Well,
How are we gonna?
an SOP is just
Or
a
even law.
procedure thing.
Yeah,
It doesn't really matter.
The SOPs are different from the law.
I mean,
Essentially,
both.
The police
I guess
officers
it's-
need to know their laws, and they frankly should know how different counties operate because that is their responsibility. And we can sit here and say, oh, well, wouldn't it be nice if they were? I'm tired of wouldn't it be nice? Is I think that they should put in the effort to learn these differences, and they should be willing to do that because that is their job. And if they're not cut out for the position.
I'm gonna be honest.
Rick.
Listen, if we can make fucking laws and constitution in one page, and these SOPs are 5,000 pages, you've already understanding the problem. They just need to be trained the fucking fundamentals of what they're meant to do: protect life. And that's a pretty good start. There's a good reason not to T-bone a car onto the fucking highway or off a fucking mountain where you can't see where it's going because you ain't protecting the people
where's
around you
that?
at that point. There's very simple things they just don't fucking do. That's all they need to do. I can only imagine how many fucking pages their SOPs are. That's why nobody fucking knows.
You don't
them.
need to imagine. It's about 31 pages. I wrote
What?
most of them.
Are you serious?
Yes, I am serious.
Someone wrote 31 pages of SOPs.
I wrote most of them, yes, and they still use them to this day.
Oh my god.
That's the biggest issue, I believe.
Oh
It's not
my
because
God, that's-
people don't want to know them at the same time, but nobody's going to read 31 pages. But
In
Oh, well-
fairness, a lot of those pages are
Overcooked.
they're just examples and pictures and whatnot. The
Yeah.
actual basics are still very simple, but they can get lost in all the extra
exactly. That's the
nonsense
thing.
surrounding it.
Why the Constitution is good because it gives you a foundation. And just like if there was a little page at the front of their SOPs, here's the core
You're saying
values.
31
make
isn't
sure
bad?
these are
31 is a
priority.
lot for
You're already
SOPs.
naturally going to know most of your SOPs.
It's too long,
because,
people don't even
you're
know
gonna
what the
think,
fuck
am I doing
SOPs
safe
are.
things right now? Am I doing X, Y, Z? It's just it's a much easier way to get the point across instead of having to read it all. Either way, I mean, that's probably something the police can discuss with themselves.
They'll
But
figure it out.
I guess-
Go ahead. Finish your thought.
I was just gonna say, I was like, my concern is giving them too much credit. I mean, we have officers that don't even understand the difference between RS and PC.
We've always had that,
Uh,
frankly.
It is established, Rick, again, with the opportunity to challenge that authority and submit it forward for review. If you're in a situation where that
so the better solution is just in the Constitution have a form of due process that is the necessities that they are bound by law. I would say would be good. I mean,
31
we can
page
all
child book for
describe what
people.
RS or PC is going to
I
be,
wanna
right?
see it.
So if it's just in legislation, then the fuck can they do? They have to do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
The police exist essentially as an enforcement mechanism of the state. They don't exist separately from it. They're there to enforce the laws and to do it in a safe and effective manner. And if they can't do that, then they'll be removed.
Well,
They
maybe
don't
it
need to
is
understand
like
the law, but they do need to know RS and PC.
I agree with you. 100%. I agree with you. But something that we need to understand is that a lot of people that made the training programs in the past are no longer doing them. For example, I don't train these guys anymore.
I'm gonna
And
ask
I
the
can
thing
tell you when I
Solomon
was
wants
their
me to.
boss,
I'm just waiting for
I
an
knew very well
opening.
the difference
Let
between
people
PC
get
and
their thoughts
reasonable
out.
suspicion. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of loss of care for the standards internally, and that is their cross to bear and not mine. But it's just something to consider that it is a fundamental lack of quality in their internal high command structure that has led to this. So
somebody shot 2 officers in the head in the middle of the apartments with a gun that was tied to somebody, and nobody got a warrant or a report about it.
I
Who was
believe
that?
it.
It wouldn't have happened
was
to be
that?
you who
Believe
just
it.
looked at her, was it, Soze?
I believe it was what's his name?
Oh,
Conan Clarkson. He was.
oh yes,
shooting guns for some
Mr.
reason.
Clarkson.
Yeah.
A member of PD shooting another
Wait, we
member.
were in the
Actually, I
same
wouldn't put that
academy.
past him.
The reality
Remember the
for
clip of
what
Soze
I
murking
think
those 2 cops?
is the issue. Like I said, the fundamentals just need to be trained into people, and that's just where they grow from. I have walked
agree.
down as soon as I came back to this fucking city. Okay, I saw police driving faster than everybody through red lights without the lights on the sidewalks, doing whatever the fuck they wanted. There was not fucking one police
Painful.
officer that drove past me that I thought you would be getting fucking reamed out the butthole right now and fucking cited or something. There wasn't one. Everybody was just fucking around and doing whatever. If you allow that sort of laziness just in driving and general etiquette within the public, just imagine what the police work is going to be
It
like.
grows and grows
you already
and grows.
you already see it.
Well, here's my opinion. I think the police have an open disdain for the law. I watch police officers intentionally not going after people who are speeding back and forth in front of them, and when I called them out on it, they immediately drove away and lied to their high command when I reported the incident to them.
Oh,
And
tickets do not
the
exist
system is
anymore.
endemic.
I can tell you that.
I agree. There is no respect for the law. There is no respect for the rule of law from the police. And in my opinion, the police are an elevated street gang with state authority.
How often do
she's
people
spitting
get
facts.
raided?
It just
How
depends
often
on the
get
person,
raided?
Jose.
I mean, we hand out, we look over the ones that do happen, and this is not by all means down to statistics, but I would say we sign on general more subpoenas than we do raid warrants. It is very rare. And I will say, my own person had a weapon of mine stolen. This individual did report that they even stole it from me via 911. Not only do you have the source of who did it, not only do you confer with myself, not only do I have the serial number that I gave to PD and said to them there's better damn result on a raid, nothing happens.
Yeah.
Ultimately, though, I'm sure that this can all be fixed as we continue on with our constitutional amendments, which I think is what we're here to discuss, and not really the effects or uselessness of the PD. This.
I think the police need their own shit. Yeah, they can look at that. It's yeah. I mean, it's hard to blame people enforcing the law when the law was pretty somewhat messy to begin with. At the end of the day, we're all the product of the environment. So, I mean,
it's true.
Hopefully they can see the change and we can all change.
Amen to that, brother.
Here's what I want to say with this. And this is what I'm going to ask of you in your respective areas that you may represent criminally, whatever, defend if you're a lawyer, or enact if you're the criminal themselves. Could you give us some time and some leeway so at this point, like what it's done is done. You have the bare bones at this point for the people that are trying to actually do something with this. Can we say enough is enough right now?
I don't think anybody's
of shooting, you mean?
Correct.
You talking to me, Bailey?
I'm talking to everybody, and I know that there are criminal defense
I'll
lawyers
come
here as
clean.
well.
To be fair,
Well, I'm not going to stop fucking defending people for their
and
rights,
this-
if that's what you ask.
This rolls into
That's not
the
what he
question
said.
I've been wanting to ask.
We thought you were
One,
sleeping.
okay, I've only really been shooting Siobhan and Mayor Max's people because I think they're corrupt pieces of shit that have fucking got us in this hole. Two, with the mayor being absent for over about 2 weeks now, is there talks of maybe a temp mayor coming in until the elections, or whoever the deputy mayor was stepping in? And three, what's going to happen with the current council? I mean, we got Solomon, who's been suspended for over a month now and has no clue what's even going on. I don't know if you guys even know Solomon's story, but
I don't know his story. No.
I mean,
His
Solomon,
impeachment is out of
please,
statute of limitations.
please speak
Well,
on your
so-
situation.
Listen.
Well, let's
Listen,
let Murphy can
There's
probably
an
speak in a
answer.
less
There's an
biased
answer
way
to
than me.
everything here being answered. We can all do a review when this shit comes out. So we just need it to fucking happen. What's stopping us from pushing a review as soon as it drops to change or ask as a request to have a new mayor voted in? There's nothing that would stop it if
Sure.
there's logic behind it, right? So
Something to note is that the new election is coming up and very quickly. Like it's about to happen. So I don't think we're going to put in a temporary mayor or an interim mayor.
How long do we have? And also, I do want to hear you guys hear Solomon's story, because
yeah,
what
I'd
happened
like-
to
I'd
him
like to hear it, sure.
is a mess.
Sure.
but-
Let's answer your first questions, and then let's talk about that, because I can imagine it'll be a lot to talk about. So
Not too much.
okay.
Can I ask a question before that real quick too? Because
Uh,
I've got to ask it. If
Is
there's
there a
no like interim, if there's no interim mayor and hardly a council left, I have a case on docket for the DOC to reinstate. What's the point of that court case even going forward if there's going to be no counsel to reinstate, assuming we get a favorable verdict? Is there a plan for the
I don't
DOC?
know.
There's
There is, and I don't
discussions.
actually know what the point of your case is. Actually, I don't know.
Well,
Frankly,
yeah.
like you could leave it up, I guess, and maybe we'll pick it up as part of our discussions. But there's definitely some stuff changing with them. I don't think we've really solidified our decision though. So I don't
I
really wanna
assume
speak on it.
is the case like civil oriented, or is it like pushing criminal charges? What's the actual case?
I mean, it's civil asking to reinstate the DOC due to failure to dereliction of duties, negligence, and that there's no reinstatement having the council impeached. But I mean,
I believe it might have been amended. Did that end up getting repealed? I swear I
yeah,
saw
I
a
mean,
few
it got,
things
it
get
got
repealed. Not long
repealed.
ago. Oh, I mean, you fucked
It
at
ain't
that point,
Solomon
then. It's-
Talker. That's
Yeah, I
for
know.
sure.
What would you do?
I would just let that one lie. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say if it was civil, maybe like a monetary thing would work. But at the same time, are you going to sit here and listen to this conversation and in good faith think it's a good thing for the laws and the Constitution that are possibly going to change to just fucking in the ass one last time?
Yeah, I think it's probably just best to let it lie. So let's finish those other questions so we can hear Solomon's story.
Well,
yeah,
you
so no
answered my
interim
other one
mayor, we'll
about
be
the
having
mayor.
elections soon. What was your other question?
Well, the position of the current council, I understand they're kind of in shambles, and then
they'll
that
be
led
gone.
into they'll be gone.
Yes, after the election they'll be gone.
Okay, well then Solomon, go ahead. with your...
When's the election going to be? It sounds like everyone's in agreement that the council is mute. The current mayor is
17, I believe.
absent. Why don't we bring that forward? I mean, there's no council, there's no mayor.
Because we're not
Here's,
fully solidified with our.
Still needs to be finished.
Yeah, we still need
Correct.
a few more days, a week
They
at
need
most
time.
to finish this and finalize it and push things forward.
Yeah, I
It
agree.
makes sense it
Let
would
them
happen at that
cook,
point.
you know?
So
Here,
We
just
still
give
have
us a
some things to
bit.
write.
We're correct.
okay.
What we're proposing to you is about 90% there, and maybe 85 right around there. We still need to. There's still a few
Wait, so
things
the
that
council's no
needs
more?
to happen.
The mayor's
I
no
feel
more,
like
and the
if
council's no
that
more.
should move forward like too early and the shit's not, is quarter half baked, that's going to be a disaster.
Yeah, no,
we
I
don't
do not
want to
disagree.
release an unfinished product,
Yeah, we
Jesus Christ!
For the
Listen.
candidates like Mr. Chavez and everything.
After seeing the last one, I'm pretty sure you guys will last at least 7 months. All right, so don't sweat it.
At least.
At
At least.
I hope to make it that long.
Does anyone have any food while we're here?
I do.
Yeah,
So as of right
yeah,
now,
come on over,
there is
some
no
food.
mayor or council, right?
The mayor still exists and the council still exists.
Can we closer?
Nothing's
Be closer,
changed
be
yet.
closer, be
It's
closer.
Hey,
just,
Got one kebab. I don't know you to be both
I
coming
just
over.
ask one thing that maybe
I'm actually serving.
an example of power isn't power till it's written in legislation. Can we maybe have that somewhere in there?
What did you say there? Sorry, I was hearing different voices there, Mr. Soze.
Power isn't enacted until it's written as law.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that we could put that in there.
Yeah,
Yeah, we could probably come up with something like that.
considering the word legislation means written law, it would be great that.
Sure, I suppose we can put in some idiot proofing documentation and legislation to make sure that the very basics are understood commonly with no misunderstandings or room for questions. We can
Well, sounds
definitely
good.
do that. So Solomon, your story, what happened with you?
I was, I guess, unlawfully suspended. I wasn't informed I was suspended as deputy mayor over a month ago. Apparently, I was going to be impeached. That never happened. It's now out of the statute of limitations. It is my belief that the entire suspension took place because I was an advocate against Max and his rampant corruption, as well as that of his wife, chief of staff. At this point, I have still received no official communication from the council. I just woke up one day and had no keys. I was unable to sign into work, etc., etc. So it really is another example of Max and Siobhan and the council kind of,
What's
I guess
the deputy
doing what they
mayor's
wish.
role in legislation? I don't remember reading nothing about it. So.
Well, essentially, a lot of it was stripped away by Max and Siobhan. So the role kind of got reduced down to being a vote and a voice on the council itself.
Yeah, the initial interpretation understanding of the deputy mayor position was for it to be opposition to the mayor.
Definitely was that.
Yeah, that was the idea, that they'd be opposition and they would garner their own political support within the council.
Oh, did I
I
get not
don't
give
know
him
why that
food?
never happened. I was not in the meetings, so
But the last meeting, one of the last matters of business
Murphy
that
needs it,
Crane dispensed with
I'll give it to him.
was saying
I'll give it
for
to him.
that to be filed tomorrow.
Now my
And
ass
that
looks
was
fat in
last
these pants.
Tuesday.
for what to be filed tomorrow, sorry?
The
My impeachment.
Okay.
Yeah, the impeachment. Crane was emphatic. He said, do this by tomorrow, because for whatever reason, Max and Siobhan were like in charge of getting the prosecution
This
behind
is-
it and all that. They just never bothered with any.
feel
The
like
reality
the-
is this not all irrelevant if legislation just
Yeah.
says you can have a vote on council at this point? He doesn't actually have powers that will, change anything if the constitution's changing. So there's no
The
point
council is a
focusing
lame
on.
duck session.
Yes, there's no point in
There's not enough-
focusing any energy on people that running away from us, or there's no power to be had. What's the value? We need to just. I believe the constructive shit is what we've talked about and going forward rather than
Yeah. Well, the reason I asked Jose about the mayor thing is because all the, for example, business proposals. I've been trying to get Wu Chang approved for a while. It got denied 4 times
Yeah.
because they go through the mayor. So that's why I ask if why not, for example, put the deputy mayor as the current acting mayor because we got 2 weeks until the election, which is a long time. Keep the city moving, keep things going, and clean up what you
well,
guys
it's still
can
going to
for
be the
now.
same issue.
There's
It
still a,
depends. Do we want to contort the legislation or do we want to follow
I
it?
mean,
Because
at
if
that
it doesn't
point,
say it,
we would
then
be-
we're
yeah,
technically doing the same shit.
We would be in violation of the Constitution, no disrespect. Even though we are editing and re-amending and adding things to this, we do not have the authority to just appoint Solomon as the new mayor until the next vote. And if we could do that, then you guys should be very concerned that we can just do that.
Okay, I see what
And
you're
my
saying.
understanding was that Siobhan was going to try to take Wu Chang for the state. So as
Yeah.
long as that can't happen,
For the
and
state?
everything is
Well,
good. Yeah.
I only ask
That's
this 'cause
treason.
I want to see the city keep moving and not be
Sure.
necessarily super dry until the election.
Is there?
Yeah.
Is,
I get that.
here's,
Well,
here's,
how
a, here's,
about,
a, here's a question. Here's a question. Is there a way for one, me to be unsuspended because I fucking should have been over a week ago now, and two, in the interim, can I have overview of business applications so at least that can get rolling again,
Well,
or
here's
you
the-
rewrite
here's the part of
legislation?
this. There's 2 parts
You
to that.
legally can't.
Correct.
What you're asking for is exactly what we've all been complaining about. You're asking to skip into legislation for no reason. I would suggest read the legislation and see if there's a hole that could make sense in the meantime. That's what I'm going to do personally. And if there is something that can be done, we should do it. But if what you're saying is the current legislation, then we shouldn't be doing what we're here to stop, in my opinion.
I
The
do
also
think
other
that's the
part of
very
the
wise
business
opinion.
side is, as it's written, it requires a chief justice to also sign off on it. So as you're asking for one, there's still a second part to that currently does not exist, and there will not be a thing now. So
All right.
it's 2 separate parts.
Here's the other question: is where is it written down in legislation that we could even vote you into suspension in the first place?
Well,
I know that they wanted to
I'll
put
run now.
that in, but
it's
I don't think it ever got-
all irrelevant until it's proven in court. It doesn't matter. Whatever we say is just irrelevant to everything, unless we have facts in court or something's tried or legislation says something. We're just arguing over shit that won't change the next week anyway. So,
Yeah,
what's
at
the
some
point?
At some point, kind of like what we were saying to Rick here, it's best likely not to make 1,000 cuts of the system that's going out on its way out, right?
Yeah.
We're working efficiently as possible. It's new in. We'll work to have an election as quickly as possible. Once that's in, we're going to let everything kind of reform. Think of it as a kind of a reformation of our government.
Yeah.
Which those opportunities may be provided to you.
I think what we can commit to is the following. We will work as expediently as we can to finalize these amendments and these new articles and amending our current existing legislation to match up with this new, not reformed constitution or state, whatever you want to call it, but essentially to get this program done and operational so that we can then announce this mayor's election as soon as possible. I understand that you want to keep things moving and not let them get dry in the city, as you said, Mr. K. It's just important to remember that we have to do this right, or we could end up in the exact same shitty position all over again. And if it has to take an extra couple days to do it right, I personally think we should spend those extra days.
Okay, I understand.
We need to bring back integrity.
Goddamn right, son.
That's what we
I
need.
agree.
It don't matter what sides are on.
I have just a general statement to make since I'm here. My 2 cents. I like the notion of us
Yeah, talk your
operating
shit.
as if Los Santos is a city within a state of the United States of America, and that we more completely adopt the United States Bill of Rights. And if this is to be a democracy, any council or cabinet that will be voting on legislative matters on our behalf, and I believe the majority of seats in that panel should be elected seats, or if not, then major legislation should be considered for public ballot votes. Additionally, I'm happy to see the common law being added all the time now, and I hope to start seeing a balanced set of common laws with more of them directly protecting citizens' rights. As of right now, the common law almost acts as a handbook of what police can do because it's my understanding that there's some common law protecting data within SIM cards. Perhaps things like that could be added into the common law, even though a lot of us know that one already. Just to have it there
translate.
for police to reference to on their behalf. That is all.
Once again, let's refer back to the actual Bill of Rights, the Constitution that will have those rights of individuals, and everything must be
She
tied
said
back to
penis
those.
a bitch.
Those
I
things
support
have
it.
arguments associated
She's
with it.
spitting
Those things
facts.
can be heard. As such, when those things are heard, there are guidelines that we will be putting out there that has to follow a certain format for publication of such common law precedents, etc., that are set from
Hold
those.
on now.
So it has to ensure that what we are enacting is based upon the Constitution itself. Once again, if you feel a certain way about something, you can argue.
The Constitution you're amending has the rights in it, or is it the Bill of Rights or whatever the? Okay, that's yeah. I mean that makes sense. Like I said, I've said this before. The biggest issue we had is because if we didn't have the Constitution levels above us to give us our rights, then our system was always going to be flunked, like was just mentioned. So, I mean, it sounds like if that's covered, then there shouldn't be any excuses no more
I agree.
for anybody.
Do you guys have any other questions or concerns or anything that you want to bring up to us for our consideration while we continue through this process?
Is there of the stuff being cooked up, will there be is the plan to roll it out, or will there be a period of time to sort of poke at it in an attempt to iron out perhaps some small things in advance of it being what's the
We are
word?
going to bring up, I understand what you're asking. We're essentially going to do all the internal revisions and weigh it up to an internal vote
America.
to make sure that there's
Everyone's pulled out
no
the flags.
inconsistencies within these documentations. And then it will be implemented. And at that point, if you wish to contest or modify anything that is in effect, you're well within your right to do that via the official actions you can take in the system. So if there's things that you notice as holes, you can exploit them or move to have them patched. And that kind of goes for pretty much everything.
Hey, I'm confused because it says Los Santos behind it and it says national. Does that mean we're a country now?
I don't think
Oh
so.
shit! Here we go again.
Oh
This
no,
is-
Angel
this is
and I went
actually-
through this the other day.
No, this is
Never
actually the
mind.
Brittany Angel Municipality San Andreas Justice Police Overseer Headquarters.
Oh, it just means the
sub-jurisdiction of Blaine
national
County and State of
office
San
is what
Andreas
paid
Authority.
for it. Oh,
Yeah,
it
that's
isn't
all.
the. Oh, I thought Trump and Biden were maybe in there. My bad. I guess
No,
I
they're-
got it
no,
wrong.
they're not. No, they're not in there.
Okay. Well, that was a great talk, by the way, guys. I'm glad that we had this conversation, but it would have been great if we could have done it a few weeks ago before people were brutally murdered and exploded and whatnot. But hey, we survived, so that's cool.
Meeting
for America.
adjourned. Look, no one died.
July
Um,
3rd, a Los Santos holiday now?
Yeah, can we make this a holiday, the Independence Day?
we?
What would you want to call it? the day that 70 violent people overthrew the city's capital and forced a new form of government.
It's a bit of a
That's what
mouthful,
happened on
doesn't-
July 4th. I mean, the British
Yeah.
monarchy was arms were
Well,
taken against them.
Depends where you're
Yeah,
at.
that's
I mean, the
very
sun's
British.
coming up right now. It looks like it's July 4th to me. Oh, the sun is
Yeah.
rising over
Oh,
there, so-
shit.
You know
Yeah,
what they
no
do in
wrong.
Australia, right? So
Wait, what?
Well,
What did
I
say?
believe it
cousins
is
and stuff
July
like that.
4th,
You know,
right?
they get a little
Oh.
confused.
Oh, wait, what? Saying we
Sorry,
fuck
what
our
now?
cousins?
Huh?
Are you talking about the,
You said
the
that.
South?
Not me. You
What?
said that.
Hey, listen, it ain't like the UK where it's real tight and small and close together.
True.
you know?
They don't
Something's
even
pretty
know what's
big.
going on. It's so small over there. Like, Solomon's
Yeah.
probably fucked half his cousins.
What?
Yeah, they're probably all cousins at this point, honestly.
That's just
And
the
even the-
Royals.
What the fuck is going
Yeah, I
on?
was gonna say even the Royals are doing that shit.
Yeah,
so-
this
hey, maybe
meeting just took a
somebody
fucking
should
turn.
reach out to the police though. Might be best coming from you guys to say that maybe there's some resolution and you know not
Yeah, shout out my
doing
Australian,
anything
shout out my UK
too
people.
crazy
you know
might
what I'm
help
saying?
alleviate what could be worse
You know,
than what happened today.
I think that the police should start doing some crazy things internally to fix their own issues. Is what I think they should start doing.
Well, maybe
we're
they can
saying
start by
is,
reading the
they
Constitution
They
next
honestly
week.
might need a bit of crazy to help them out here.
Yeah, they're
Out of curiosity, will it matter? Like, I mean, if there's jurisdictions, wouldn't the jurisdiction have a bigger say as to ensuring their police departments are actually being trained?
I mean, nothing is really inherently changing with the police departments and their internal structure. What's happening is they're being assigned
Independence
to
Day.
sections and areas of the state to
Independence
essentially
Day.
patrol and take care of and steward these states, right? So they become effectively enforcement bodies of the municipal governments. So, you know, I don't see why it wouldn't be impossible for the municipal mayors to influence their local police departments in their own various ways. But again, this is all for them to figure out. I'm not going to sit here and write a roadmap for what they can and should not do outside of some basic guidelines.
The
I like
point
that
is to
answer.
create the entire point is to create an opportunity for these things to kind of establish themselves as we go forward as a unified
I
state.
like that everybody that has a power will be able to be held accountable. It's already exactly what I believe needed to happen. You don't need to shoot someone in the face to say something anymore. You can literally just fucking write a review.
I think this is more powerful of a statement than shooting someone in the face, personally.
Exactly.
What? What are you looking at me for?
Well,
Right.
listen,
I don't think there's a fly over there.
nobody's blaming you, and trust me, I very much understand the pain and anguish in which the people have suffered. Okay, but at the same time, you know, I believe some innocent lives were going to be crossed today, and I'm glad it didn't happen.
You're a hero. You're a goddamn hero.
I don't know about that, pal.
Well,
I'm
you know,
just a
people they do
guy that wants to
barbecue.
follow the Constitution.
They do barbecue on July 4th. You know, barbecue was about to happen. You said, nah, no meat today, buckos.
Are you
True.
vegan?
Yeah, he is.
No,
Oh,
actually, I
okay.
ate the bear that I'm wearing.
Oh. Right. Fair enough.
So, if any of you guys ever have thoughts, concerns, things you want to bring up, you're more than welcome to approach justice and let us know. I don't think any of us are going to turn away honest and full-hearted conversation about any of these things. I, for one, welcome them. So, if you ever want to reach out to any of us, please feel free to do so. Hopefully, we can have some more guidance from you guys in the coming days so that everyone can see the new changes.
Sounds good.
Thank
Appreciate your
you,
time.
everyone.
I'm glad we could talk.
Thank y'all for putting all that effort in, you know, past and what's up to come.
It's just the beginning, my friend. There's much more to be done.
Amen. Hallelujah. I love America.
Ain't it something when people can actually speak and enjoy the conversation? Well, listen, I'm gonna love you guys and leave you guys. I'm gonna go for a drive on my ATV and I don't know, do things that bear people do. So appreciate the talk, guys.
Take care, Jose.
Time
Later.
will
Bye,
tell.
sir.
Time will tell. You guys aren't walking away?
I mean, I probably was gonna keep talking to some people. I supposedly start walking away, but
I do need food if anyone's gonna.
Oh, I
Yeah,
do, sir.
okay.
I do,
I'm
Your
just
Honor.
debating
Hey,
whether I'm
Kay.
asleep in
Hey,
the
Kay, check
bush.
that tweet real quick.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
So I got to get ahead of the curve. You know what I mean? Bailey, I need a retweet.
Wow.
You PR motherfucker.
The hell did you just claim?
Wow. It's true if you don't think about it, okay?
Yeah. If we all pretend that we ignored everything that just took place, then that tweet is absolutely
Shit, I'm gonna call
accurate.
it Independence Day then. At that point, I'm gonna take all the credit. Even though you guys
Well,
have
I
been
don't
working on
care.
this.
You all claim whatever the hell you want to claim
Yes,
with
I'm
it.
the
I
hero
don't
that
care.
shot up the city and caused reform, guys. Yes, I'll take the credit.
I know this isn't really on the judges, but will sort of basic necessities be available in the new Blaine County jurisdiction? Like, currently the only place to buy food is in Los Santos and things like that?
Is there a
Or would
restaurant
that be on the
in Toledo?
mayor?
If I have the ability to
Is
say
there?
something with it, maybe, but I don't know. I have no idea. I can't give you that much.
Fair enough.
I
Like
don't
Murphy
No,
said,
there's
some restaurant like Murphy
there's
mentioned
there's
in Toledo.
businesses that have been approved, so I think there's likely a restaurant in Grapeseed or Sandy also that I don't even know about. But
enough.
there's at least one up in Toledo. It's not open all the time.
Well, better go write my Wu Chang business proposal again. Maybe it'll get approved.
I can help
Just-
you
I
with
think
business
it does
prop if you
swell.
need to.
Oh, really? Well, I don't.
Yeah, I help.
I don't necessarily think it was my proposal that was getting me denied.
Yeah, it's a completely legal legal proposal.
Yeah, I had a storefront, and actually, I probably have the most functioning business without actually being an approved business.
Alrighty, and we'll get out of here. Any other questions y'all have with it?
Thank you for your time.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
that felt good.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Colonel.
thanks.
Need a ride, Murph?
Bye.
I think I'm just gonna go sleep in a boat.
All right.
A bush
Come on.
diver.
Oh, good.
Surprising.